A person sits through a terrible movie because the ticket was expensive. A founder keeps funding a weak product because 3 years have already gone into it. The sunk cost fallacy happens when past spending controls a decision that should be about the future. A sunk cost is money, time, effort, or emotion that has already been spent and cannot be recovered. The fallacy begins when that past cost becomes the reason to keep going, even when continuing makes the outcome worse. Effort already spent can make the surface story look simpler than the real situation. The hard part is emotional. Quitting can feel like admitting that the earlier choice was wrong. So the person keeps investing, hoping the next step will rescue the meaning of the earlier effort. Public commitment is often the detail that separates a quick reaction from a wiser response. Imagine paying for a gym membership you never use. The monthly fee is already gone. The decision now is not whether the fee was smart, it is whether future money and time should continue going into the same pattern. The hope of rescuing a bad choice shapes what should be checked next. Businesses face the same trap. A company may keep a failing project alive because it has already spent on staff, software, branding, and meetings. Those expenses are real, but they do not prove the project deserves another year. Future value turns the idea into something practical rather than only theoretical. Relationships can also involve sunk costs. Someone may stay because of years together, shared friends, family expectations, or memories of better times. History matters, but history alone cannot replace present safety, respect, and effort. Gym fees deserves attention before the choice becomes harder to reverse. The fallacy often uses noble language. People say they are being loyal, patient, committed, or disciplined. Sometimes that is true. Other times those words hide fear of loss, embarrassment, or starting over. Failing projects can quietly move the cost from the present moment into the future. A better decision separates past cost from future value. The question is not, how much have I already spent? The question is, from today forward, does continuing create enough benefit to justify the next cost? Relationship history helps explain why the obvious answer may not be the best answer. This is why selling a losing investment is so difficult. The red number on the screen feels like failure. Holding it feels like hope. But the market does not reward a person for needing the past decision to look better. Red investment numbers gives the situation its real-world weight. Sunk costs are especially powerful when effort was public. If friends saw the choice, quitting may feel like humiliation. The person is not only losing money or time, they are losing the story they told about being right. Degree decisions is worth checking when the first explanation feels too neat. The fallacy also appears in education. A student may finish a degree they hate because 2 years are already completed. The better analysis compares the remaining years, debt, career options, and alternatives, not only the time already spent. Exit conditions can decide whether the problem stays small or grows into a pattern. One warning sign is using the phrase, "after everything I put into it," as the main argument. That sentence may describe pain, but it does not answer whether continuing is wise. Adding more cost to avoid shame keeps the analysis tied to behavior, money, timing, risk, or trust. Another warning sign is adding more cost to avoid feeling earlier cost. Buying more equipment for a hobby you no longer enjoy, hiring more staff for a product customers do not want, or planning a bigger wedding after doubts appear can all fit this pattern. Patient commitment versus denial belongs in the decision because it changes what action would help. The opposite mistake is quitting too quickly. Not every difficult phase is a sunk cost trap. Some goals require patience. The difference is whether new evidence still supports the path, or whether the person is only trying to protect old effort. Starting today without history becomes more reliable when it appears more than once. A useful method is to imagine you are starting today with no history. Would you choose this job, investment, relationship, project, or purchase again from this point forward? The answer often exposes how much the past is controlling the present. Team pride should be checked before accepting the most comfortable explanation. Another method is to define exit conditions early. Before beginning a project, decide what evidence would make you stop. That protects the decision from pride later, when emotions are already invested. Old effort and new evidence needs to be connected with the actual consequence. Good leaders watch for sunk cost thinking in teams. A meeting room may keep defending a plan because everyone helped build it. Someone needs permission to ask whether the next dollar, month, or hour still makes sense. The lesson inside failure keeps the topic grounded in daily life. A healthy exit does not mean the past was worthless. A failed project can teach skills. A relationship can hold meaningful memories. A course can teach what you do not want. The lesson can remain even when the path ends. Yesterday's loss can be found in behavior, documents, timing, or repeated choices. The sunk cost fallacy matters because it turns yesterday's loss into tomorrow's loss. The original mistake may be small, but the refusal to update can make it expensive. The next dollar or hour makes the issue easier to name in plain words. The cleanest takeaway is this: respect what you have invested, but do not let it own your next decision. Past cost explains why a choice feels painful. Future value should decide whether you continue. One clean way to break the sunk cost trap is to separate pain from choice. The pain of wasted money, time, or effort is real. But the next decision should be based on what happens from today forward. A person can respect what they lost without allowing the loss to keep making decisions for them. The sunk cost fallacy also becomes stronger when the cost is part of identity. Someone who has spent years training for one career may feel that changing direction means admitting their whole past was wrong. But a past choice can be meaningful and still not be the right future choice. Learning is not wasted simply because the next step changes. A restaurant owner may keep funding a failing branch because the renovation was expensive. But if rent is high, foot traffic is weak, and reviews are poor, more spending may only enlarge the loss. The renovation cost explains why closing hurts. It does not prove that staying open is wise. Businesses face the same trap with projects. A team may keep funding software, a campaign, or a store location because stopping would embarrass the people who approved it. Good decision-making creates room to stop without humiliation when the evidence changes. Patience and sunk cost thinking can look similar from the outside. Patience says, "This is hard," but the evidence still supports the path. Sunk cost thinking says, "I cannot stop because I already gave too much." The difference is whether new information still justifies the next cost. The sunk cost fallacy teaches a difficult lesson. The past deserves respect, not obedience. Money already spent cannot be recovered by spending more for the wrong reason. Time already invested cannot be rescued by wasting more time. The healthiest choice may be to take the lesson and stop adding new losses to an old one.